Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hello. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Shri Radhe Radha Gokulananda Radha Gokulananda Jaya Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Lakshmana Hanuman Jaya Sitaram Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Should I read this? Yes. Hare Krishna. Do you hear me? Okay. It's okay. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Okay, so today we'll be reading 5th chapter and 10th verse. Ramani adaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotya lipyatena sapapena padma patramivam basa. Do you want to go? Ramani adaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotya lipyatena sapapena padma patramivam basa. Ramani adaya karmani sangam tyaktva karotya lipyatena sapapena padma patramivam basa. Now the Mangalacharya pray. Yeah. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatardine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so I'm just gonna read the translation for the verse. One who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action as the lotus leaf is untouched by water. Okay, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here Brahmani means in Krishna consciousness. The material world is a sum total manifestation of the three modes of material nature, technically called the pradhana. The Vedic hymn Sarvam hi etad Brahma, Mandukya Upanishad 2, Tasmad etad Brahma nama rupam anam cha jayate, Mundak Upanishad 1.1.9, and in the Bhagavad Gita 14.3, Mama Yonir Mahad Brahma, indicate that everything in the material world is a manifestation of Brahman, and although the effects are differently manifested, they are none different from the cause. In the Ishopanishad, it is said that everything is related to the Supreme Brahman or Krishna, and thus everything belongs to him only. One who knows perfectly well that everything belongs to Krishna, that he is the proprietor of everything, and that therefore everything is engaged in the service of the Lord, naturally it has nothing to do with the results of his activities, whether virtuous or sinful. Even one's material body being a gift of the Lord for carrying out a particular type of action can be engaged in Krishna consciousness. It is then beyond contamination by sinful reactions, exactly as the lotus leaf, though remaining in the water, is not wet. The Lord also says in the Gita 3.30, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya, Resign all works unto me, Krishna. The conclusion is that a person without Krishna consciousness acts according to the concept of the material body and senses, but a person in Krishna consciousness acts according to the knowledge that the body is the property of Krishna and should therefore be engaged in the service of Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, I'm gonna speak more about the verse, but less about the purport, because this chapter starts off with Arjuna asking quite a relatable question because of his doubts in the first verse. So he's asking what to do, what is better, working or renouncing work. And he's confused because from previous chapters, Krishna's explained karma yoga and then jnana yoga. And basically, knowledge and work, they seem quite contradictory, like you cannot do both at the same time. And so he's like, how can you be engaged in so many activities and be so renounced? And so it's actually very fine art to function in the material world like that, to be not without attachments, but actually work and do so many activities. So, because in itself, this world is kind of running on attachments and selfish desires. So and then because why people in general work, and it's behind the motive behind working is to get some enjoyment. And we had the class by Radha Govinda Prabhu. He said that people work because of family affection, and he linked it with us wanting to be the proprietors, the enjoyers. And this also this enjoying mentality, this desire for enjoyment makes people work their whole lives, something that they don't even want to do. And as our teacher in Bhakti Shastra, she said people slave away so much of their life for a little spark of material enjoyment. Yeah, I think it's okay. So by this we can see that the attachment to work is very strong, and just because of this this mentality of enjoyment selfishly. And we can there was this story of Narada Muni. He was because people were in the material world, they were asking why is God making us suffer so much, why am I suffering so much? And he goes to the Lord with this problem, and Krishna says okay, bring me at least one person who's willing to come here. And he comes to the material world and he searches everywhere, and he cannot find anyone who's willing to go to the spiritual world instantly. But he finds one person, one man, and that man says, okay, I will come, but I need to see my son get married first, and then I'm fine, then I'm going. And he does that, and then Narada says, okay, let's go now. And then the man is like, no, I want to see my grandchildren grow up. And it goes on, and he dies. And he takes birth as a dog in his son's house because he wants to guard the house. He's not, and it's just it goes to the point till he takes birth as a worm. And then Narada is like, okay, I'm done with you. I'm taking you to the spiritual either way. Don't bother. So we can see that it's very strong attachment. And also, there was this one devotee who was leaving body, and she was so attached to tomatoes that she was crying that the spiritual world won't have any. So and her so her Guru Maharaj was like, no, you can. There's tomatoes there also, and you can offer them to Krishna. So it's So and about this this working without attachment. Because basically why Arjuna is asking this, because he was in a difficult situation and he wanted to run away, and he was afraid. One of the reasons why was because he was afraid of getting sinful reaction from fighting, and he had to fight against his family. And renunciation kind of seems quite appealing, because then you don't have to deal basically with the problem in itself. And but the thing is that if we run away to the forest, not just Arjuna but us also, it's not purifying our desires, it's just suppressing it. And why does Krishna maybe advise like working without attachment and offering the results to him rather than renouncing the activities? Maybe you can, do you know? Like, why does Krishna advise working without attachment rather than renunciation of the activities?
So I think renunciation of activities often is like fake. It's like fake renouncing. It's quite austere, you know, people going to the forest and Ashtanga yoga. It's not really practical in this age.
Yeah.
So he says, you know, giving up like offering the fruits to him, you know, detaching from material matter, attaching to Krishna basically, because it's easier for this age, and that's what Bhakti yoga is.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, like it's very hard to just, you know, renounce everything, but if you're working, you're engaging your senses, it's you're less likely to become a pretender, isn't it, rather than just dryly renouncing something.
Yeah, true. It's like false renunciation,
false.
isn't it? Yeah.
Falgo. Remember in Nectar Devotion?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't really purify the heart, does it? It's like you kind of suppress the desire in itself. Yeah, so that's why Krishna is giving the advice to keep on working, and because it will help us to kind of slowly come and gradually be more Krishna conscious and purify these deeply rooted desires. And also this is why, like, the connection with, it's in the verse it says, work without attachment and surrender the results. That's why this without attachment working and surrendering the results, it's very like they go hand in hand. Because if we just work without attachment, then that's not devotional service, and it doesn't really purify the heart. Because there was this, in Nectar of Devotion, there was this saying that a person who is simply discharging his occupational duty in Varna and Ashrama, however with no Krishna consciousness, practically does not gain the true benefit of human life. So we can be engaged in a lot of, like, people are engaged in so many, like, charities and austerities and so many kind of pious activities, but it's not really purifying like devotional service. And there's this example even of, I'm going to try to find it. Yeah, like how, like, we try to do all of these things, like perform austerities, charity, and etc. And it's like comparing like someone suffering from diabetes because they're overindulging in sugar, and they undergo quite a lot of physical suffering, and they're taking medicine for it to control the disease, to kind of suppress it even almost, but it's just treating the symptoms but not curing the disease itself, which is the craving for the sugar, which is basically the root cause of the disease, like sugar and like this desire for enjoyment. So, and the remedy is basically devotional service. And so working without attachment and surrendering the results go together. So do you have an idea how can we come to living according to what this verse says, maybe?
9 process of devotional service.
Yeah, true.
So doing, and I think most of everything is doing service, because as you do service, you know, you learn a lot. I think, but it's also being conscious all the time of your mentality when you're doing things. I think that's somewhere to start, and gradually as we advance it becomes easier. Obviously living in a temple, it makes it much simpler because all the activities you're doing are for Krishna, like garlands or cleaning the temple. But it is tougher when you're out like working and things, but that's the real test because we need the internal renouncement.
Yeah, true.
To become like the lotus flower, is that?
Okay,
so I think it's by association of senior devotees and saintly persons, they say like bhakti, how is it, like, you only get bhakti from bhakti, so it's only by, someone giving it to you that you can make progress and actually have bhakti yourself. So to become like unaffected by suffering or difficulties, we need to associate with people that have already reached that stage, or they're further at least, and then it really does help you to become like them.
True. From like get the seed of bhakti from someone who has it. Yeah. True. Yeah. It also, like Prabhupada, what he says is he has this word, Krishnaize your activities, or dovetail your activities with Krishna. Yeah, that's a very good point. And also another point from the morning talk that I like. Do you remember what Radha Govinda Prabhu said about the difference between like affection and attachment? Do you like that? Affection is what we do out of love, and there's no expectation. And I feel like this, like if we do this, like work without attachment and surrendering the results, that's this devotional service, then that is like affection, showing our affection. But if we expect something, or if we kind of want to selfishly enjoy, then that's this attachment mentality. Yeah. And then, so far we've spoken that the work in detachment and offering the results is better than just renouncing work. But then again, like, why are we even doing this? Like, what is the point of this? Like, why can't we just chant and be happy, which is very true. But like, why also this kind of like endeavor? Do you have maybe some idea?
I was going to say, we've lived like how many lifetimes in material or different bodies, and our minds are crazy.
Yeah.
So it's difficult for us to chant and be happy.
True.
Hopefully you get there one day.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, it is what the verse, in the verse it also says, like, to protect from the sinful reactions. And in Nectar of Devotion it says it does come from ignorance, which is we just forget our true nature, that we're parts and parcels of Krishna. And so when we do that, we are then convinced that we can be happy in the material world. And thus we just engage in so many of these sinful activities. But despite that, our nature is still to serve, so we end up serving, like, as Prabhupada says, dogs and cats. Because the nature of servant is still there, but we're just not using it or utilizing it in the way we should. So here Krishna is just kind of guaranteeing the protection from sinful reactions, and he's also giving the analogy of the lotus flower. So that means that if we act in this way, and then we are in the material world, but we're not affected by it. And we can use the things in the material world, we don't neglect them. But at the same time, we're not affected or attached to them. And and we had this memorization verse, one who renounces things that could be used in the service of Krishna under the pretext that such things are material, doesn't not practice proper renunciation. So we should be using, but just it's about the mentality of doing it for Krishna. Yeah, and this is what we'll get out of this cycle of birth and death. But obviously there are quite a lot of obstacles. Like, one of the obstacles in performing this is like the desire itself. And I was listening to His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Goswami. He says that nothing will help you become happy and get out of the suffering of repeated birth and death by using something that causes the suffering itself, which is like this material, like all of these material things we're trying to get happy by. and that it's only devotional service that can protect us from the reactions of sinful activities. But yeah, it's kind of like people lack this understanding that Krishna is the proprietor, and this, it's just, yeah. And also, as you Komal said about the state of mind or consciousness, you know, it's not just the activity itself with the body, but it's also the state of mind we're in. Because, you know, we can be in the temple or in the holy dham, and internally we're like millions miles away from that holy dham. It's very, very tricky kind of situation. And yeah, so basically for me also, it's like I can be running around the temple from like one service to another, and then it's like I get upset about if I get overtime in my schedule, like too much service, or someone asks me to do something extra. And it's like, if you think about it, how this attitude will work in spiritual world, like how this Krishna's gonna be like, can you make me some sweets? And I'm like, I can't. I'm like, this isn't in my schedule. Maybe Komal can do it. I don't know. Like,
I'm sorry, I'm too busy.
yeah. Like how will that work in the spiritual world?
Yeah, it's true. It's like Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is dependent on the attitude of the follower, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so much is about the mindset we're doing it, isn't it? We can do any activity, you know, we can be doing something very important actually, but if we're thinking something completely not about like Krishna conscious, then what is the point of that? You know, and then like maybe we can be sweeping the temple and being completely absorbed. Yeah, so actually this is all I have. Yet maybe to conclude the devotion service, so basically devotion service is the only way we can really get out of the material world. And if we practice with body and mind, engaging or dovetailing all as an offering to Krishna, then our heart gradually purifies from these selfish desires. That's all I have. Thank you. Sorry if it was a bit too like from one point to another. Thank you. Maybe some questions or some chastisements.
No, I think you did really well. Well done on your first class. I was wondering, what other practical points do you think we could use to practice this, you know? Like attachment and offering the fruits.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, this one point I forgot to say. It's like we need to make our relationship with Krishna quite strong to be able to offer, because otherwise we kind of have this impersonal view on God, and then it's like, why should I offer, you know, because we don't have that connection, this strong connection or relationship yet. So it's like, yeah, but if you want, you know, when you have a strong bond with someone, you do want to do things for them, you do want to offer them, you want to give them love. So yeah, maybe like just trying to focus on improving relationship with Krishna, which is what you said about the 9 processes of bhakti. Yeah, that's very like important. Yeah. Maybe Abby, you have something.
I heard in a class recently. It was a class on Srimad Bhagavatam, but it was Radhanath Maharaj who was talking about like offering flowers, you know, like flowers are something so beautiful, like, and usually we offer it to someone we love, like, you know, we wouldn't offer that to someone we hate, you know, if like your enemy like came and gave you some flowers, you'd think like, okay, what have they put in these flowers, why are they giving me these? And yeah, he was just making the point that, you know, we can only offer something like if we have a connection with someone, if we have a close relationship, you know, like it's yeah, in a relationship you would offer you know, yeah, flowers, for example. And yeah, so that's how, yeah, we can be with Krishna, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Vaishnavi ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna to all the devotees.